right, friends, hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, A Radical Relationship, where we are talking all things faith and all things lifestyle. Welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be here recording this video for you all. We just wrapped up our second series from a book entitled Wisdom from Women in the Bible. So excited about that. If you haven't checked out the series, be sure to go back and look at those if you're looking for kind of just some guidance with some Bible studies. I would say they're really good for just studying out different women and their stories and kind of putting a modern take on things. So definitely go check out that series if you haven't. Today we're going to be talking about normals, finding the balance, the joy, embracing new normals. Whew, it's a heavy one, y'all. It's a good one though, but the motivation for the topic really came from being in touch with the fact that I really wasn't looking forward to the holidays as Thanksgiving started to get closer and closer. I was like, I'm feeling like this kind of sucks. And a lot of that mindset was really about so many things hitting home about just how much things had changed over the last year, and the things that I was used to around the holidays and the dynamics that I was used to were different. And so I wasn't feeling it. So a few of those different dynamics, I have my journal here that I use for notes, but a few of the different dynamics, my parents are divorced now. And so a huge part of not feeling the holidays was feeling like I didn't really have a home to go to, because the home that I essentially grew up in was no more, as well as that family dynamic that I grew up in was no more. I'm divorced myself now, and the thing about this holiday that was different is that last year around this time, I was separated and things were headed in that direction. It hadn't become official yet, but I was thinking, like, why am I feeling so strongly? It's not the first holiday without him, but because I was sort of in the thick of it, there was still so much coming from other people by way of encouragement. And so, it was just a different season. So last year it was like I was still in the thick of it, and I was still like being super encouraged by a lot of people. And this year was kind of the first year that it was just the new normal, like there isn't all this commotion about it. I'm not being asked about it. It's not top of people's mind. It's the new normal now. And so that is what kind of was hitting me about that. And of course, COVID, has put a dent in all of our plans. And so, perhaps it had been different if I could at least have a big family gathering like I'm used to, but not being able to do that was different. And then earlier this year, I had a brother who was shot and killed. And so, thinking about that side of my family and how this was going to be the first holiday without him, and just so many new norms, and getting open about those feelings and talking to other friends about it. These new norms were kind of a consistent theme. Things are just different, in people's lives, and not necessarily bad, but different. Not being able to do the big family gatherings and go see different people caused many to have to do holidays in their smaller family unit, which is different, not a bad thing, but it's just not what you're used to, and may not be what you envision for the holidays. And so in all of the different conversations and even all of my own thoughts about things, I started to think through, okay, how can I embrace this? Like, this isn't going to change and this is my reality. How can I be in touch with what I'm feeling while also embracing the new norms? So the first thing was lots of prayer. It made me think about the serenity prayer that goes along the lines of, God, help me to accept the things that I can't change the things that I can, and give me the wisdom to know the difference, something like that. And so this was one of those things. Help me accept the things that I can't change, and doing a lot of grieving about the things that are now lost, that the new norms are now a result of. I had to repeat out loud, this situation I cannot change. This thing that happened I cannot change. And, saying it out loud really helped me to accept it as reality. I can't do anything about that. But then there's another part of help me to change the things that I can. And I can change my mindset, I can change how I think about it, and I can choose what to embrace. And so what I was able to embrace is that the holiday, although it didn't make for these huge family gatherings or consist of the family unit that I'm used to, it did allow me to connect with people on a much more intimate level. So I got a chance to go out and spend time with my grandmom, and it was just me and her at her house. And so we got to sit and chit chat, for a couple hours just about so many different things, and really just got to connect on an intimate level. And the same thing with each house that I visited. It allowed for much more intimate conversation because it wasn't the hustle and bustle. And so that was actually something that I could appreciate about the difference. The second thing was being intentional about finding the good. And, there's whatever your story is, whatever that new normal is, there's always someone out there who can relate. And life isn't all bad for those people. I did a video entitled Finding Yourself in the Bible. That was a part of that Wisdom from Women in the Bible series. And I loved that charge that I was given via a sermon from the church that I was in at Richmond at the time. Finding yourself in the Bible, finding your story in the Bible. There's going to be somebody that you can relate to, whether in this world or in the Bible, and you can look at their story and choose what it is that you want to focus on. And so as I talked about that new level of intimacy that I was able to have with different family members, because it wasn't so many people around, like, that was a good for me. That was good for my heart. That was good for my soul. And so I was really encouraged by that. At the end of the day, when I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is not that bad. It just looks different. The third thing that I thought about is that new normals, especially when they're not norms that we fully accepted yet and we're trying to work through to accept, it teaches us a different kind of reliance on God. And I want to tread lightly there because I'm not a fan of the just trust God narrative. I do think that you have to wrestle with God. You have to be honest with God, and you have to tell him when you're not feeling it. So this isn't, it is what it is, girl. Just rely on God. Just trust God. But what it does do is move us to looking to him for the things that we want and desire, and not just looking outwardly for those things. I wanted joy. I wanted to feel filled up. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to have that camaraderie, and so that shaped my prayers, okay, God, well, I'm going to rely on you to encourage my soul by way of people. I'm not going to just depend on people to be that for me, but I'm learning to embrace this relationship with you now, God, in a very different way. And it's not that God himself is going to come down and do those things, but he provides those things by way of people. And then I kind of look up and smile like, I see you, because the reality is that God knows exactly how to encourage us. He knows exactly what it is that we need. And so when that encouragement comes from him, it's going to hit real different, because I've seen on numerous occasions where he does something for me and I'm like, I didn't even know I needed it. So it hit completely different now. And so embracing that as well. A fourth thing that came out of my time of reflection about these new normals is that different isn't always negative. It's different. That doesn't mean that it's bad. And so I had to get into that mind frame as well, that, different may be a result of unfortunate events, yes, but different doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. It's more so an opportunity. And so that's something that I've been trying to embrace as well, is, different circumstances, new normals. It's an opportunity for something, an opportunity for me to experience this holiday in a different way, an opportunity for me to connect with individuals in a different way, an opportunity for me to connect with God in a different way, an opportunity for me to connect with myself in a different way. Opportunities, y'all. Different doesn't mean negative. And then my final takeaway is grieve what you need to grieve. And that was also something that I had to really come to terms and grips with, is that, if I'm feeling some type of way about this season, it's okay. Those emotions are pointing to something in me. And for me, it was pointing to the fact that there were still things that I had to grieve, things that I had and have to come to terms with as being different and have to accept. And so that's another opportunity. Okay, if I'm feeling some type of way, what is it that I'm grieving? What is it that I found joy in? What is it that I'm missing? What is it that I wish that I had? And then as I do that, converting those things into prayers and, allowing God into that, because the goal is to always go deeper with God and to let him in. So before I end, I wanted to leave you all with a couple of scriptures that really encouraged me during this time. The first is in Isaiah chapter 43. Isaiah 43 verses 18 through 19. I don't think I'm going the right way. Isaiah 43, 18 through 19 says, "But forget all that. It is nothing compared to what I am going to do. For I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness. I will create rivers in the dry wasteland." I was listening to a song this morning that said God's promises are yes and amen. And this is an amazing one. This is one that I hold on to. And when he talks about, when the verse starts out saying, "But forget all that," go back and look at the verses before, because he's talking about ways that he's already delivered Israel, ways that he's already come through for them. And he's like, but forget all that. It's nothing compared to what I'm about to do. And so, I have to speak those words to myself and fight to believe this promise that God is doing something new. Something new always brings about a level of uncomfort, right? But we really miss out if we don't press in to really see what God is up to. The other passage that I love, and it has come to be just imprinted upon my heart, is in Ezekiel 37. And it's the passage of the Valley of Dry Bones, and it's verses 1 through 13. And I won't read all of them, but essentially what happens is God is talking to the prophet. They place this scenery of him being in a very dry desert, and he sees bones that God brings to life. The bones start to come together and make a skeleton. And then he breathes life into it. And it's this concept of, you're in this dry and barren land and you see nothing but bones, but the way that God takes what's dead and brings it to life. Like, I'm sure, like, when I get married, when I have kids, that, like, this passage is going to be all up and through there, because it'll be the promise brought to life, the dry bones brought to life after everything that I've gone through. And so I just hold that passage so near and dear. So I would definitely encourage anyone who's feeling down about any new normals, especially during this holiday time, to go and read that and be inspired by what God is capable of. Okay. So I've done a number of videos on dealing with transition and navigating different seasons. So I'm going to pop a few of those up so that you all can be reminded of those. So if you haven't checked those out, go look at those as well, and just listen in for some pointers about just how to embrace and how to first identify and then embrace the different seasons that we go through, and then keep in mind that we're looking forward to the promise that God makes all things new, that he turns graves into gardens, if you're familiar with that song. So that is all for this video. Hope that you all enjoyed it, and until next time, we are out. Bye, y'all.